Good morning. Here I am in the I just woke up. The browless wonder. Um, I think today I'm going to do some research on maternal deprivation, and I've already done an extended amount of research on that, and also something else. But because I get confronted sometimes by some of my family members, and I get questions from my kids, and a lot of them are not difficult to answer. It's just that they're not able to understand that a lot of the answers they've been given um, are false information. Just like my parents have been given false information. I know just one situation, for instance, my family was under the impression that I called CPS and sent them out here to Arizona. That's not what happened. I completed an assessment like I was required to for mental health services, and because I expressed that my stepfather had spanked me with a belt, and I felt that was excessive. Um, they felt a need to send CPS to my parents' house for a welfare check of my children, and I told them, I was like, that's completely unnecessary because CPS is who placed my children there. And she said, yes, I understand that, but I'm a mandated reporter, and I have to send them out there for a welfare check. And I was like, well, but nobody's worried about my child who's actually enduring physical and emotional abuse here, placed with a sex offender against my rights and her rights and against my will. Oh, well, you can file a report for that if you'd like. And the young lady was a very nice young lady, a nice marriage and family therapist that I actually liked. And I was upset and angry that I never went back to mental health after that, I don't believe. Not voluntarily. CPS out here and CPS in California, have grossly and ridiculously misinformed other people with information that, first of all, wasn't even their business. Second of all, we have a certain level of privacy. CPS is not allowed to invade your lives. Had I known what I know now, CPS would have never done anything they did to my children, because there has never been a reason for them to separate my children from me. Never. Never. Not ever. And one of my children told me that I lost my son because of my choices. No. What choices? What choices did I make? What choices did I make? And if they're going to tell me I was on drugs, they're wrong. They're wrong. They are wrong. I was not. I was not abusive. I was not neglectful. I don't know who they got any of their information from. I don't know why things were happening the way they were happening. I don't know who CPS thought they were. They were angry. They're not angry. They were insisting that it was not acceptable for my two oldest girls' father to be in the household because he was on probation. And that was their first reason to remove my children. The second reason was because I had left I was living there. He ended up going to prison, so I was living with his mother and father. And while I was gone, there was a point in time where I had to leave, and I was doing something, and I wasn't able to get back immediately. And I let his mother know. And before I returned, she told me, she said, they came and took the kids, and I asked her why, and she gave me a phone number, and then I called the woman. She said, well, the children are there with two elderly people that could have a heart attack at any time. They could have any number of problems. They're not healthy. They're not this. What? So CPS removed my children because I chose to leave them with their grandparents? Absolutely unacceptable. And then remove them from there, send one to my mother, My mother would only accept one child. The other, she said, had behavioral problems, and they didn't know that they could handle it. She didn't have behavioral problems. She has none of my children had problems when they were with me. None of my children had behavioral problems when they were with me. I had good kids. They claimed that my third daughter had behavioral problems, and that's why she was in a place called Casa de los Niños. I was the only one that was going to visit her. No one went to see her but me. They were claiming I was strung out on drugs. No one was contacting me for anything except visits. All they were doing was allowing me visits. They weren't contacting me for any kind of case plan, for any kind of anything. And they obviously had no problem contacting me, because one time when my daughter that was in Casa de los Niños that was undergoing a breathing treatment because she couldn't breathe, they called me in, asked me to hold her and help her stop crying because she wouldn't calm down. And so I came in. They obviously had no problems getting a hold of me. This was an emergency situation. They got a hold of me. I went in. I held her until the ambulance came, and then they took her to the hospital for additional services, I guess, for her breathing issues. And I'm not sure why no one understands. I didn't. Just like my parents not understanding, they had no right to say I wasn't able to come home and be around my children. Like my mom had told me at one point, well, we would let you come back home and be with the kids, but CPS says you're not allowed to be around them. I don't understand why my parents don't realize. CPS never had any right. They never had any court orders indicating that I was abusive or neglectful. And even if I had been a substance abuser, first of all, I wasn't, and they don't have any proof that I was, because I wasn't. I wasn't being arrested for drugs. I wasn't testing positive for drugs. I didn't have any symptoms or signs of being addicted to anything. This shit's fucking ridiculous. And nobody realizes that. I don't blame my family, but no one stood up for anyone. No one stood up for anyone. They just did what they were told. That's the problem. That's the problem. And now my children are very critical and not judgmental, but very critical of me, and saying things. I know they don't mean to be hurtful, but they're saying things to me that they're just like my mother, minimizing the fact that I'm their mother. I understand that I was not there, but they have not yet taken the chance to sit here and talk to me and understand the truth, the facts about why I never came home. And 50% of it was because my parents would not allow me to. 50% of it was because I would call repeatedly. Just like Rob was calling, I was calling, and they would not answer the phone. They still do this. I can show my children phone record after phone record after phone record of me contacting my parents and them never contacting me back. And like I said before, I'm not saying any of this to make anybody look bad. But we need to give my kids the facts here. We need to give my kids the facts and stop sugarcoating shit, because this is ridiculous. And not only is it hurtful to me, but it's very destructive to them and their ability to understand a lot of things. It's very, very important that my kids understand why I was not there. It's very important that they all get justice, because their brother is dead because of CPS and hospital intervention, and because the people around him were not paying attention. They were saying things like, well, he was running around here pretending to be okay, or he did it to prove a point, and I'm not going to specify who said any of this. I'm just saying these are all such insensitive, hurtful things that make me believe that is why. And I'm not placing blame for the billionth time. I'm not placing blame. I'm basing my assumption. So if it makes an ass out of anyone, it's going to make an ass out of me. Okay? It's my assumption. So if this assumption makes an ass out of anyone, it's going to make an ass out of me. My assumption, based on what people are saying, oh, well, he was running around pretending to be okay. He did it to prove a point. He wasn't mentally ill, and neither are you. And if you're mentally ill, you belong in an asylum. And I'm sorry, I say that kind of in a condescending tone. I don't mean to. I just realized how condescending I sounded while I was watching myself. But no. That is so insensitive to other people's suffering. Just because you guys did not suffer the same way another person did does not mean that that person did not suffer. Now, at risk of revealing people's medical information, okay, I'm not going to address specifics, but his father had a disorder that involved, I'm not sure if it's impulse control, but I'm pretty positive it's a neurological disorder. I have a neurological disorder, all of which explain a lot of the problems my son was having that everybody was completely insensitive to. Plus, they had him on psych meds, and I don't have any doubt in my mind that they could have quite possibly been doing to him the same thing that they were doing to me in California. Because I'm not stupid. I know the difference between being out here and being out there. I know I sat there, and because I had nothing better to do, they wouldn't allow me to be a mother. I sat there and did a lot of experimentation to see exactly what was triggering them, terrorizing me, trying to determine if they were watching or listening or something else. And it sounds silly to people listening, to people watching these videos, but you would be blown away by the facts that I shared with you if I shared with you what I found. You would be blown away. Because the stupidest shit, blaming everybody and anybody, trying to get me to blame everybody and anybody for everything. And the only thing they could tip my scale with was my children being abused. And once they figured that out, they went all out. And that's what I was terrorized about. That's what I was terrorized about. And then prior to that, I was being terrorized for snitching someone out. I didn't even snitch anyone out. Not any of the people they were mentioning. But when it comes to my kids or people being spanked or people being beaten or children being hurt, I'll snitch whoever the fuck I want out because children are innocent. And if somebody busted my daughter's ass so badly that she doesn't fucking remember it, damn straight I snitched him the fuck out. But nobody did anything about it. Nobody even cared. Just like when I reported Jeff and his family's abuse. Nobody cared. Nope. There's been no crime. There's been no crime committed here. It was done for disciplinary measures. Oh, okay. So if I see someone doing something that I don't think is okay, I can discipline them. Because my child is not his child. He's never had rights to her. He leads people to believe that he did, but he never had rights to her. Never. He keeps putting presumed father on everything. Never was he determined to be presumed father. In juvenile courts, the judge's exact words were, Alan Robinson has proven paternity by way of DNA test, Jeffrey Martin Miller to maintain the title of presumed father until, Alan Robinson, you take this matter and your paternity test to family law, and they will determine if he's entitled to any rights. They did not even hear the matter. Alan Robinson filed to establish his parental relationship, and they vacated it. They vacated everything he and I filed. Everything. Our objection was ignored by California state law. Our objection is all that was necessary for them to leave us the fuck alone, and for them to tell that man to leave us alone, and for them to grant us a protection order. I filed for protection orders from him twice. The first time she said, you don't have a police report, you don't have anything, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to grant it. So I filed a police report on the things he did to me. Then they turned that around as if I had made them up just to get the police report, or just to get the. You sat there and told me I needed a police report to go with the request for a protection order. I go do that, and now you're telling me that I don't meet the burden of proof. There's no proof that he did those things to me. I don't meet the burden of proof. My daughter was a witness to one of the things, many of the things that he did. Oh, we don't generally interview children her age. Okay. Yeah. So much bullshit. And it's not about me being harassed. It's about people serving an injustice to cover up the fact that they supported and assisted a sex offender against minors, a convicted repeat offender of crimes against other people. Not victimless crimes, crimes against other people, violent crimes against other people, sexual crimes against children. They allowed him, they assisted him in abducting my child and turning around and accusing me 3 times of child abduction. I have never been charged with child abduction, but they granted him child abduction services 3 times. Do you know how expensive those services are? Do you know how many people are involved in finding a missing child? Do you? But they knew they couldn't charge me with that. They knew I hadn't broken the law. They got it back to their jurisdiction. They refused to allow me to change jurisdiction. They refused to allow me to go home with my child. They kept me from my children in Arizona that they knew about. My children in Arizona, whose information they placed in every CPS report had my children's names, addresses, and information of where they were located. Information that my son was in Ohio, information that my other kids were with my mother, their addresses, their names, in every single CPS report. Every single CPS report had my children's information in Arizona. All over the front page of it. Right there in the first few front pages. Those are my children. That is my business. I have a right to privacy. If I'm never home, if I never make it home after visiting California with someone to see his sister, how am I supposed to fight anything in Arizona that was just as unjust as everything in California? My mother telling CPS, okay, the CPS, I don't know if my mother really said this or not. When I asked her, she said, oh, I don't recall saying that. And I told her, I said, Mom, if anyone calls you, please refrain from answering because you don't know anything about my life for the past 20 years. You don't know. You can sit there and speculate. You can base it on what you've heard or what you think you've heard because you claim I've said things I've never said, and you claim I didn't say things that I've been saying all this time, like thank you. You've never said thank you for anything we've done for your kids. Are you fucking kidding me? That hurt like hell. That hurt like hell. I could not even look at her after that. I could not even look at her. Are you serious? The majority of my calls to her from Indio, the last thing I said was, Mom, thank you. Thank you guys for doing what you're doing for the kids. Oh, no need to thank us. We're just doing what we were told to do. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I have to promise I'm not going to make videos about, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore because this is destructive and hurtful to me. And I have the right to say my side of everything. I'm not just going to sit here and sit back and let everyone hear what the fuck they hear from everyone else and not know the truth. Like, I'm a very rational, calm person. I don't need anger management. I don't verbally abuse people like I'm being accused of. I don't physically abuse people. I don't neglect my children. I'm very confused many times about how to interact with people. But as you can see, there's very good reason for that. I don't know. I know today I'm calling one of the churches here for opportunity to volunteer. And hopefully that can lead to a job or someone that understands my situation and understands. And then there will be witnesses. There will be people that will be able to say, hey, this young lady is not lying. This young lady is not lying. She might look rough around the edges. She might have her face pierced. She might have hair extensions and dreadlocks and whatever, but she's not lying. And I'm not a bad person. I know I'm not. I'm not conceited. I'm not narcissistic. I'm not mentally unstable. I was having a natural response to being controlled and abused physically, emotionally, and sexually for 14 years. I don't want sympathy. I just need understanding. There was a reason that I was psychotic. I'm glad that I'm not psychotic now, but there was a reason I was psychotic. Thank you for watching.